My name is Emily Carter. I'm 31 years old. And this is how I took revenge on the man who ruined my life by trusting someone else's plan entirely. It starts with a memory I wish I could burn out of my brain. Outside Courtroom 6B, County Court, downtown, Tuesday morning. I sat on a cracked vinyl bench, silent, mascara bleeding down my face like a war painting I hadn't meant to wear. Inside, I could hear them laughing, as the judge signed the final documents. Him and her, his new wife. She used to be our babysitter. 22, blonde, and a yoga influencer with 300K followers. She called him babe, like a reflex. I called him my husband, for 9 years. I sat still. My nails dug half moons into my palms. The guard at the door avoided looking at me. I must have looked like the ghost of someone who used to exist. In a way, I was. Emily Carter, PhD, Associate Professor of Linguistics, mother, wife, homeowner, speaker at 2 international conferences. All of that erased like chalk under rain. He'd taken everything. The house with the reading nook I built myself. The job after he leaked anonymous tips that I plagiarized my own research. Even our daughter, for now at least. He was the better liar. But I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't collapse. Not the way he expected. I waited. And when he least expected it, I ended him. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. To understand what I did, you have to know who I was. Before him, before the betrayal, before the plan. Flashback to 6 years earlier. A tiny rented office on the second floor of the university's aging liberal arts building. My old office. Books stacked in dangerous piles. Half a whiteboard covered in theories about ancient Semitic roots. And a worn couch with a burn mark from my forgotten tea light candles. I was happy there. In a way only nerds can be. Buried in language, in history, in meaning. I was building something. Not just research, but a life, one with integrity. That's when I met Daniel. He was charming in that politician's way, the kind that makes you feel seen, special, like you're the only person in the room. He brought coffee to my lectures, quoted my articles back to me like he actually read them. And maybe he did, once. 3 years later, we were married. 4 years later, he started sleeping with her. 5 years later, I caught them. And 6 months after that, I was broke, jobless, and temporarily unfit for custody, according to a judge who clearly couldn't be bothered to look me in the eyes. So no, this isn't a story about forgiveness. It's not about healing or moving on. It's about what happens when a woman decides she won't stay quiet just because the world wants her to. Because here's the thing. I didn't take him down alone. I couldn't have. Someone came to me. Someone I never expected. They had a plan. All I had to do was trust it. And that's where everything started to unravel for him. Before all of this, the courtroom, the betrayal, the plan, I was Emily Carter, small town girl with a backbone made of grit and caffeine. I put myself through law school, one coffee-stained textbook at a time, waiting tables at night, studying on breaks, and making outlines on napkins when I couldn't afford printer paper. Family law called to me, maybe because I knew what it was like to grow up in a house full of slammed doors and quiet dinners. I thought I could help people find peace, or at least protect themselves. I did good work, honest work. I never went after billable hours. I went after results. My clients called me a bulldog in a blazer. Judges respected me. Opposing counsel hated how prepared I always was. I wasn't flashy, but I was solid. My best friend Rachel, more like my sister, used to joke that I was the human version of a legal pad. No nonsense, reliable, slightly caffeinated. We met in undergrad and never looked back. She knew me better than I knew myself. Still does. She was always the one to tell me the truth I didn't want to hear, especially when I met Tyler Sanders. I had just won a case I wasn't supposed to win, representing a woman fighting for custody against her abusive ex with a high powered attorney. It was the kind of victory that made you believe in justice again. Tyler found me afterward, said he'd been in the courtroom, said he'd never seen anyone dismantle a witness like that and make it look so elegant. That's the word he used. Elegant. He said he respected strong women, that I was going places, that he had a startup and needed legal help from someone who actually had a soul. He was magnetic, the kind of man who fills a room without saying a word. 6 years older, a natural storyteller. He had that quiet confidence that makes you lean in closer without realizing it. Rachel warned me, said I should be careful of shiny people, the ones who dazzle you until you're blind. But I was already falling. We were engaged in 10 months, married in 18. Somewhere in between, I left my little firm to help with his startup, a disruptive legal tech platform, he said. I still handled family cases on the side, but more and more of my energy went to building what I thought was ours. I thought I was building an empire with the man I loved. Turns out I was handing him the keys to destroy me. Things were good for a while. We laughed a lot. We dreamed big. We planned for the future. A house outside the city, maybe a second office, a kid. When I got pregnant, it felt like the final piece was falling into place. But then we lost her. 16 weeks. One night I was reading baby name lists and rubbing my belly. The next, I was in a sterile room trying not to scream. Tyler was distant after that, detached. I told myself it was just grief. I threw myself into work, into healing. He threw himself into staying late, dinners missed, weekend trips I wasn't invited to. And when I asked questions, he always had answers. Good ones. Too good, really. You're just tired, Em. You always overthink things. You used to trust me. Little by little, the gaslighting started. Quietly, skillfully, and I let it happen. Because I believed in marriage, in vows, in second chances. I told myself it was a season, that love meant patience, that I wasn't giving up. But then, things got strange. One morning, I tried to log into our shared project database, and my credentials had been deactivated. IT said it was a routine reset. Except it wasn't just the database. My firm email was locked too. Then my card was declined at the grocery store. Our joint account, the one where all my consulting fees went, suddenly had a different primary user. My name wasn't even on the new cards. At first, I thought it was a bank glitch, some kind of admin error. But then I saw the fine print. He'd transferred the company accounts to a new LLC, one that didn't have my name on it. Our house was quietly refinanced too, just in his name now. That was the moment. The one where the denial cracked, where the flicker of panic turned into a blaze. I thought I was paranoid until I realized I was being erased. Not just sidelined, not just ignored, systematically erased. This wasn't grief. This wasn't distance. This was a man rewriting the story before I even realized the pen wasn't in my hand anymore. But the thing about losing everything, it strips you down to your bones, and bones don't break easy. Rachel's guest room smelled like lavender and boxed wine. It was small, barely big enough for the mattress on the floor. But it was quiet, and right now, that was everything. I'd been there for 3 weeks, long enough to memorize the ceiling crack above the window, long enough to stop jumping every time the doorbell rang, but not long enough to feel like myself again, if I even knew who that was anymore. Every morning, I made a list, just 3 things: get dressed, apply for one job, call one lawyer, I usually made it through one and a half. Tyler's legal chokehold was complete. Every attorney I reached out to had the same tight smile, the same practiced regret. Unfortunately, there are conflicts. Your husband retained someone in our firm months ago. There's concern you may not be emotionally prepared for litigation. Translation: You're radioactive. Tyler had poisoned the well, quietly, efficiently. Even if I wanted to fight, no one would take my case. One night, after another rejection and a failed job interview, I collapsed in Rachel's kitchen, knees to tile, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. Rachel didn't say anything, just sat down beside me and pulled me in, holding me like I was something worth saving. When I finally looked up, her eyes were sharp, steady. "You're not going to win fighting him straight," she said. "He owns that game board." I nodded. I knew. "But," she added, "I know someone who doesn't play by the rules." She hesitated. "You're not going to like him. He's arrogant, cold, dangerous when bored." I looked up, almost laughing. "So, your type?" She smirked. "He's also brilliant and ruthless. If anyone can help you flip the script, it's Noah. Noah Wells, Rachel's ex, a legal strategist with a reputation for corporate sabotage, crisis cleanups, and whispered settlements. He didn't advertise. He didn't need to. CEOs, politicians, even Fortune 500 firms used him when things were bad. The kind of bad you don't want in court records. He agreed to meet, only because Rachel begged. We met in a windowless private room above a jazz bar in Midtown. He was already seated when I arrived, black coat folded neatly beside him, sipping an espresso like it was scotch. He didn't shake my hand, just nodded. "You're the wife," he said flatly. "The one he erased." I nodded once. "Emily." He studied me like a contract. No pity, no kindness, just analysis. Rachel leaned against the door, watching, waiting. Finally, Noah spoke. "You don't want revenge," he said. "You want justice in disguise. Good. Let's give it to you." What followed wasn't a rescue. It was a resurrection. Over the next few months, Noah and I worked in silence and shadow. I deleted my social media, changed my number. I let the world and Tyler believe I'd disappeared. In his mind, he'd already won. Perfect. Noah taught me how to build a case the way predators dismantle prey, from the edges, slowly, quietly, without mercy. We started with the shell companies. Tyler had created three, all registered under false executives and overseas proxies. But he'd made a mistake. He used an email tied to our old firm to authorize a transfer. Legally, that meant I still had claim to the trail. Then came the offshore accounts, buried deep. Noah had contacts who owed him favors, and within weeks we had a ledger of Tyler's secret financial moves, some directly violating our marital asset disclosures. Even better, he'd used Cassandra's name on two of the filings, without her consent. That was a felony. We also discovered NDA violations, confidential client data Tyler had leaked to secure funding. He'd used them in pitch decks, some even screen shared in investor meetings. All of it, documented, time-stamped, screen recorded, stored in two separate encrypted drives, plus one USB I wore around my neck. While we worked, I found a job, part-time, at a legal non-profit for domestic abuse survivors. The pay was minimal, but the work saved me. I sat across from women with bruises in their voices, not just on their skin. I helped them find courage again. And in doing so, I started remembering my own. Every day I walked through those doors, I reclaimed a sliver of the woman Tyler tried to erase. The one who used to fight for people. The one who's now fighting for herself. One afternoon, I visited the park where we'd planned to take our daughter. There was a bench there now, engraved with her name, Evelyn Carter, always loved. I ran my fingers along the letters and whispered the promise I hadn't dared say out loud until now. I won't let his name be the end of my story. Meanwhile, we played the long game. Cassandra, as expected, was ambitious, and Tyler had promised her power, influence, ownership. So we gave her truth, slow leaks, anonymous tips, screenshots, just enough to cast shadows, just enough to make her ask questions. She found one of the shell companies, then the offshore accounts, and slowly, cracks formed in their perfect little empire. Tyler grew paranoid, changed passwords, fired staff, started working from home more, afraid of spies that didn't exist. He even accused Cassandra of betrayal, which, ironically, planted the final seed of mistrust between them. I watched from a distance as the man who stole everything started crumbling under the weight of his own lies. And still, we waited. One night, I met Noah on a rooftop bar overlooking the city. Wind sharp, sky dark. He handed me a folder. Thick, damning, lethal. Everything's ready, he said. The moment we drop this, he's finished. Financially, legally, publicly. I didn't speak, just held the folder, felt the weight. You need to understand, Noah said, his voice quieter now, almost human. When this drops, there's no going back. This is war. You need to be ready. I looked out at the skyline, eyes stinging. I'm not scared, I whispered. He tilted his head. You should be. He's going to fight dirty. I turned back, voice steady. Then he's about to find out what dirty looks like when a woman has nothing left to lose. Noah smiled, just slightly. Then, good, because when it drops, you can't blink. It started with a signature. One legal motion, quietly filed, flawlessly timed, backed by a silent partner Noah referred to only as our ghost, a hidden investor with a grudge and deep pockets, someone Tyler had screwed over years ago in a venture collapse. Noah said they'd been waiting for the right moment to return the favor. That moment was now. The emergency motion was surgical, asset freeze, full injunction, court-approved audit, filed before sunrise, served at Tyler's office before he'd finished his second espresso. Within hours, every account with his name on it, personal and corporate, was frozen solid. Credit cards declined, wire transfers blocked midstream, even his travel reward points vanished. By noon, Tyler was pacing in his glass office, red-faced and shouting at Cassandra on a Zoom call. Unfortunately for him, someone recorded it. You were supposed to keep your fucking mouth shut. You think they're gonna come after you? You signed half the filings. This is your mess too, Cassandra. His voice cracked into something almost unhinged. Cassandra cried, and the moment his face twisted into a snarl, that's when we leaked it, anonymous, to 3 major business blogs, 1 influencer account, 1 Reddit thread. It spread like gasoline on dry leaves. By 5 p.m., Cassandra's lawyers contacted us. By 8 p.m., she'd flipped. The next morning, she signed an affidavit, detailed, damning, signed and notarized with timestamps and receipts. Tyler, she admitted, had used company funds to bankroll their affair. Luxury hotels, first-class flights, a $14,000 necklace she thought was a gift. He'd called it a marketing expense. He also paid for client dinners that were just weekend getaways. Cassandra had the bank statements and internal emails to prove it. It was enough to breach half a dozen clauses in their investor contracts, enough to trigger default penalties, legal liabilities, and a reputational implosion. But the best was still coming. The courtroom. It was a foggy Thursday when the hearing was scheduled. Grey skies, rain threatening but never falling. Poetic, in a way. Tyler showed up 15 minutes late, unshaven, collar askew, shouting into his phone as he stumbled past the news crews now posted outside. I arrived early, alone, calm, hair pulled back, simple navy dress, no makeup beyond a soft lip and steady eyes. I looked like someone Tyler didn't recognize anymore, and that was the point. He scowled when he saw me, like I'd trespassed on something that still belonged to him. I didn't flinch. Inside, the hearing room was cold and clinical, but the atmosphere was electric. You could feel it, the silent countdown before a detonation. My new legal team, Noah's hand-picked strategists, stood like statues beside me, polished, ruthless, ready. Across the aisle, Tyler's lawyer, the third one he'd hired in 6 weeks, looked like he wanted to melt through the floor. Then the testimony began. First came the bank records, clear as crystal, marital assets transferred without consent, company money used for personal gain, two sets of books, one for investors, one for truth. Then came Cassandra's video deposition. She didn't cry this time. She was composed, calculated. I didn't know what he was doing at first, she said. But once I did, I stayed. I regret that. She confirmed everything. The affairs, the fake contracts, the luxury bills disguised as consulting payments. She even admitted he used Emily's grief as a talking point to justify cutting her out of the company. Tyler told me she was unstable, that the miscarriage broke her. He said she couldn't handle stress and the company couldn't afford emotional liabilities. Gasps from the gallery. Even the judge's jaw tightened. Finally, we played the audio. A single conversation between Tyler and his accountant, recorded legally, courtesy of a wire Cassandra had worn during a final makeup meeting. In it, Tyler said clearly, "We don't need her name on anything anymore. It's all mine now. She'll be too broken to fight back." The silence after that line was volcanic. When the judge finally spoke, his voice was steel. "Miss Carter, this court finds sufficient evidence of deliberate fraud, financial manipulation, and character defamation. You are hereby awarded 72% of the shared assets, full rights to the original business entity, and additional damages to be determined in civil proceedings." Tyler stood, yelled, swore. The bailiff took a step forward. His lawyer pulled him down by the sleeve, hissing something into his ear. I didn't move, didn't smile, just watched him unravel. Outside, the media frenzy had already begun. Tyler Sanders, once hailed as a rising star in legal tech, was now the centerpiece of an unfolding scandal. Tax evasion, corporate fraud, defamation, financial abuse. Investors pulled out within hours. His board dissolved. Cassandra filed a civil suit to protect herself. It's been 11 months since the court ruling, since the podcast, since Tyler lost everything. And me? I've never been more whole. My nameplate sits on the door of a sunlit office in downtown. Emily Carter Law, Family Advocacy for Women. It's small. Just 2 junior associates, 1 part-time paralegal, and a receptionist who brings in muffins every Monday. But every square inch of it is mine, built from scratch, with integrity, with intention. We specialize in psychological and financial abuse cases. The kind of warfare too many women are told isn't real until it's too late. I make sure they're heard, protected, armed, no more being erased in plain sight. Not on my watch. I keep my steel behind the softness now. Calm voice, steady hands, but no one misses the edge anymore. I don't need to shout to be powerful. People listen now, especially the ones who never used to. Some days, I catch myself standing at the office window, watching the city move below, and I smile. Not because I'm happy all the time, but because I survived, and because I'm still writing the ending. Rachel waddles into my office one afternoon, glowing and exasperated, holding a latte in one hand and prenatal vitamins in the other. Tell your goddaughter to stop trying to somersault on my bladder, she groans, lowering herself onto my couch. I raise an eyebrow. You sure she's mine? Sounds like she has your flair for the dramatic. We laugh. It's the kind of laughter you earn, scarred but strong. Rachel asked me to be godmother 2 months ago. I cried in the middle of a grocery store aisle. I wasn't embarrassed. Not anymore. We'd been through fire together. Now we were building something softer, something that could grow in the light. Noah stops by the office sometimes, unannounced, always with something unhelpfully cryptic, like, thought you might need these redacted SEC memos for bedtime reading. He never stays long. But when he does, he leans on the doorway like he belongs there. There's tension. Yes, that quiet, complicated pull between two people who've seen each other broken and still chose to stay. But nothing's rushed. Nothing needs to be. We're both still rebuilding. Some people come into your life to break you, I said to Rachel once. Others arrive to help you rebuild. Noah didn't rescue me. He reminded me how to rescue myself. That's more powerful than any romance could be. Though, who knows? One day. Tyler, disbarred from business. Quiet investigation turned public reckoning. Fines. Court-ordered therapy. Zero credibility. Last I heard, he was bartending under a fake name at some half-dead lounge in Tampa. Cassandra left him 2 months after the deposition, took her confession and her dignity, and moved on. He tried contacting me once. A single email. Just said, I hope you're happy. I didn't respond, because I am, but not in the way he meant. I visit the courthouse bench again. Same one from that first day, when I sat in silence, mascara streaking down my cheeks, listening to the man I loved laugh inside a courtroom while dismantling my life. It feels smaller now, not because it's changed, but because I have. I sit for a while, breathing in the late afternoon sun, the hum of passing cars, the soft chatter of strangers who don't know what this place meant to me. Then I slip the note from my pocket, fold it carefully, written the night I finalized the paperwork for my firm. I slide it into the seam beneath the bench. It reads, We made it, baby. Mom kept her promise. I press my hand to the wood, and then I walk away, not looking back, because this time I don't have to. I used to think strength looked like holding everything together, smiling through the ache, staying quiet to keep the peace, making myself smaller so someone else could feel big. But now I know better. Real strength is surviving the fire, and then walking out of it with your head high and your voice louder. It's rebuilding, not for revenge, but for yourself. People ask me if I ever wanted to destroy him. The truth? No. I didn't chase revenge. I trusted the plan. I trusted someone who saw the fire in me when I'd forgotten it was there. I trusted the friend who never let me fall too far. And I trusted myself, even when the world called me broken. And in the end, I didn't just win. I came back stronger, smarter, untouchable. You see, power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, it watches, it waits, and then it strikes. Tyler thought he buried me. He thought grief would make me weak. That silence meant surrender. That if he stripped everything from me, my job, my name, my voice, I'd disappear. But I didn't. I rebuilt. I rose. And I refused to stay silent ever again. Because the truth is, He didn't destroy me. He revealed me. He taught me how cruel the world can be. But I taught him how dangerous a woman becomes when she stops begging and starts planning.